Welcome to another Monday Book Talk with me, AnnaLee Dragon, the director of the Kinderhook Memorial Library. So this week, I know last week I mentioned that we're going to play a game this week. And so I'm going to play the game as an example, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. And then you can play at home too and see if either any of the books I pick are ones that you would be interested in reading, or you can email me and tell me which ones you would choose. So I'm going to show you a graphic in a minute, and we're going to go through one at a time. So it is a graphic of different literary pills you could take that have different effects, and then you choose which book you would pick in each one of the categories. And I have my choices for you. It's harder than you think, especially if you read a lot. There are so many things to choose from. So I had a hard time. And I also aimed to pick books that I haven't talked a lot about so that there's some new things for you, I hope, in this selection. So what I'm going to do is we'll flash to a graphic and I'll show you which pill we're working on, and then we'll come back with my choice, and then we'll do it all over again. Now there are 6 pills, but I believe they told you to only pick 2. And I said I'm cheating because I'm going to do all 6 just to give a wider variety for us to talk about. Okay, so hold on to your seats because here we go. Okay, so you just saw the Bookworm pills, and the first one we're going to work on is the Amnesia Pill. So that is a book that you wish that you could have amnesia and read for the first time all over again, because there is something magical, right, about reading a great book that you really love for the first time, and you can never really recapture that feeling no matter how many times you reread it. So for me, the book that I would choose is one that I was introduced to by my mom. It's called Jitterbug Perfume, and it's by Tom Robbins. I don't have a copy of it here with me, but it is fantasy oriented, and it is about a king in the 8th century who is losing his power because he is no longer young. And so he goes in search of the fountain of youth, essentially, like what will keep him young to keep him powerful. And he ends up encountering the goat god Pan, who is also losing his powers, but that's because the world is turning to Christianity. And then there is a present day portion that has to do with a perfumer and an ancient scent that she's recreating. And this book I just adored. It was such great escapism, and I loved it so much. And on top of that, it was inspired by the Hove Perfumery, which is in New Orleans. And I actually went there last year. I wanted to go because it's the oldest perfumery in New Orleans. And it turns out they had a copy of the signed book there. And I was like, this is kismet, because I love that book. And it was actually inspired by this perfumery. So that is the book that if I could take back and had never read it and could pick it up brand new again, that's the one I'd choose. Okay, on to the next. Okay, so the next pill is the Sacrifice Pill, and it allows you the power to revive any dead fictional character. Now, this is a little bit spoiler alert for people, I guess, if you haven't read all these books, because you might not know the character's dead. But my pick for this is very sentimental. I would pick the character Dobby from the Harry Potter books, who is a house elf and has a tragic ending that I felt was undeserved. He was a wonderful little character. There's something really quirky and adorable about him. And if I could bring a character back to life, he's the one I would choose. So next pill. So the next pill is the Love Pill, and it's if you could make any fictional character fall in love with you, who would you choose? Now, there are some great heroes and heroines out there to choose from. I personally would pick Jamie from Outlander. If you have not read the books Diana Gabaldon wrote, he is as dreamy as they come. Not entirely unproblematic with his gender views, but that's partly from the age that he lived in. But I became completely smitten with him. He and Claire have a love story for the ages, and I would choose him if I could have a fictional character fall in love with me. Next. Okay, so the Life Pill is the next pill, and that's if you could make any fictional character come to life in the real world, who would you choose? And I went a little quirky on this one. It's a newer book that I just read that came out earlier this year called High Fire by Ian Colfer is his name. And I was obsessed with I'm sorry, I have to look at my notes because I want to get the title right. Wyvern, Lord Highfire of the Highfire Eyrie. He is a dragon, and I am a dragon, so I think that part makes sense. He's also hysterical because he lives in the swamp in New Orleans, hiding out from people. That's how he's managed to be the last dragon alive. And he drinks a lot of beer and wears Flashdance t-shirts because he loves the 80s movie Flashdance. And he sits in his lazy boy in the swamp and kind of torments the alligators a lot. And he is the kind of hero, I guess, an everyman sort of hero of the book Highfire. I found him hugely entertaining. Who wouldn't want to see dragons again in this world? I think my love of Game of Thrones comes out there. I would love to see that. And particularly Vern, which is what they call him for short, because he is a very lovable character and doesn't seem terrifying. I mean, he has his moments, but I would hope he would be friends with me so I wouldn't have to be afraid of him. So I would definitely pick Vern, the dragon from Highfire. Okay, next pill. Okay, so the fifth pill is the travel pill, and it's if you could travel to any fictional world that exists, where would you pick? And for me, this one was easy. I've read a lot about a lot of amazing places, but I would pick J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings world, hands down. I want to visit the Shire. I want to see where the hobbits live. I probably would skip Mount Doom because, you know, it seems like a dark and foreboding place. But the all of the elf cities that exist and the things that, I mean, they're in the movies, they look amazing, but the books are even more descriptive. And ever since I read them 15 years ago, have been entirely hooked and want to just be in that world. And it's so perfectly described and detailed, and there's such a history, and there's all different climates and all different places, and it seems a lot like our world in that way, and I would love to explore the world that happened in Tolkien's mind. So that's my travel pill. And now we're up to the last pill. Okay, so the sixth and final pill is the body pill, and it's if you could change bodies with a fictional character and be in their place, who would you choose? This is a book I read a long time ago, but it's sitting on our shelf, and I saw it and thought that would be ideal. So I would choose to switch bodies with Joanna Drury, who is the heroine of Barbara Wood's book, The Dreaming. Which takes place in the late 1800s in Australia, and there is a lot of discussion of the life there at that point, which was very difficult. But what captivates me is the magic of dream time, which is an Aboriginal belief. It's where, and the song lines, how they sing their history, and Aborigines have tended to keep their history and their thoughts about life pretty close to the vest for good reason, because they have been persecuted in large part by the white people who have taken over Australia. And so I found it was one of the few places I'd ever read about a lot of Aboriginal lore and belief system, and I thought it was fascinating. And there's some really cool magic stuff that happens in that book, but there's also some pretty neat historical detail and character. And I think she's kind of a tough adventure woman, which, as you know, is one of my things. I like the idea of adventure. So if I could switch bodies, I think I might pick to trek out Australia in the 1800s and see what that's like and get to know the things she got to know. And it just seems fascinating to me. So if you haven't read The Dreaming by Barbara Wood, highly recommend. It's got all the historical saga landmarks, family histories, great historical detail, some magic thrown in, which I love, and some other belief systems and things you get to introduce yourself to, which are completely fascinating. Made me want to read more about it. So those are all of the pills that I have taken now. And I would love it if you guys wanted to think about these things for yourself. I hope it does make you think. As I said, it's not as easy as it sounds, especially if you are a lover of books and reading. There's so many worlds you're in, characters you're introduced to. It's hard to make decisions sometimes about who we would choose. But I loved all of these, and I will put the covers of the books I discussed at the end so that you can pick them up if you're interested. And we will be back next week. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing next week, which is the theme of 2020. So we will see. I will be back though, for sure. That I know. It was great seeing you, and we look forward to you coming in and making appointments and borrowing books through curbside and anything else we can do to help you. Okay? Have a great week, guys.